My name is Arndt. I'm the CEO of Bettermarks, and I'm coming from Berlin. Glad to see some of you now for the second or third time of that presentation. Not that exactly, but presenting Bettermarks. Bettermarks is focusing on, with our adaptive math product, on the toughest nut in the education sector. We are focusing on the school systems in the K-12 area. So our mission is to be the next generation of teaching and learning material. And where are we on that mission? If I would find the way to click it. Any hint for me how to use it? It's now, okay, thanks. There are three countries, three focus countries for us. One is Uruguay. We won a tender of the Uruguayan government in 2013 when they were looking for adaptive math and Spanish internationally. They pulled back the tender for Spanish as they didn't get an appropriate product. But with math, we are now rolling out in the country. And 1 out of 5 students is already using Bettermarks. And the period of 2013 to 16, they used for a very thorough efficacy study. They used the TERZE test, which is a kind of PISA test provided by UNESCO. And they were able to build a large cohort of Bettermarks users, which they compared to the non-Bettermarks users. And the result, for instance, in the bottom third of socioeconomic environments was that those students improved by an equivalent of 1 year of additional schooling over the period from 13 to 16. The significance of that study, that one. The significance of that study was very high. The cohort was large, so they could rule out which region, country, rural region or city, the hours of schooling, the income, the gender. They were even able to rule out the role of the teacher, as a lot of teachers are teaching both Spanish and mathematics. And you see the shift to the right on the mathematics side and no improvement on the Spanish side. And the government of Uruguay is very happy with that result and now expanding it further to the rest of the country. The next country is the Netherlands, one of our core countries. You might be aware that the Netherlands are, I think, 5th place in math in the PISA ranking. So STEM education for them has a very high priority. And they also have some online schools already. And some of those are already working with Bettermarks, and there they replace the traditional textbooks. Bettermarks there is used heavily, like 95 minutes in average per student, and a student working in 1 week with Bettermarks with a probability of 90% is also working with the next week within Bettermarks. So the usage is what we love to see, where we want to get in every country. Germany, of course, our home market, and sad to say that, but in terms of web access, Germany is a developing country. There are no internet accesses in Germany, and therefore we are working really with the innovators of the teachers. They not only have to overcome the hurdles of usage, but they really have to go to the parents and collect the money because there's no budget for digital learning material. But that is changing quickly. The government has decided to put 5 billion euro into digitalizing the school system, and the purpose of that is not having internet in schools, but to develop better lessons, better teaching, and adaptive learning material is the key for them to do that. And of course, Bettermarks has proven its efficacy also in Germany with a scientific study, A/B testing 500 with, 500 without Bettermarks, and a very significant result coming out of that. So the question is, how does it work? How are we able to increase learning outcomes on a broad scale. And how will I learn to click this machine? It seems to be tougher now. Learning from mistakes. We meet students where they are, and like a tutor, supporting every student in its learning process, step by step by step. And the second important part is the teacher can work with this class alongside the curriculum. And I give you a few insights. Interaction is key. Key, on one hand, for students to be able to develop a problem understanding instead of just drilling routines for certain math problems. And on the other hand, it's key that students are able to make mistakes. Multiple choice does not help to really learn. Multiple choice might be okay for testing, but if students want to learn, they have to work with a kind of white sheet of paper approach. They need the creativity to make mistakes. And Bettermarks provides such interaction tools which work like a white sheet of paper. But additionally, we are analyzing the input and able to give a feedback. And those real-time feedbacks at every exercise step, those lead to understanding. That is not going on. That didn't help, okay. So when students perform an exercise, for instance, in the example of the graph, the student would draw a line, and the system would notice if the slope is correct, or the point P where the gradient starts is correct. And the system would give a feedback to the student, think about this, and explaining how a graph could be drawn in such a graph. The next thing is, which is important, that we are able to detect knowledge gaps. You see in the corner with a question mark, you see the learning graph. The 2000 learning objectives, how Bettermarks structured the content from grade 4 to 10. Those learning objectives are organized in a learning graph, and when a student is making a mistake, for instance, with finding a common denominator, and that mistake is continuously done, then the system detects a knowledge gap and asks the student to close the knowledge gap, even if that subject was part of the curriculum a few years ago. The explanations a student can see are always with the values of the exercise. And those explanations are very easy to understand, and it's not just an abstract explanation, but it really explains how and why the problem can be solved. So 100 million exercises have been performed with Bettermarks in 2017. And we now really get the feeling that the school system is speeding up. We expect in Germany that, and we see that there is a clear standard definition for quality. What means adaptive? How do we support learning? How do we integrate it in the classroom? And based on that quality standards, the money comes into the market and purchase happens. In Latin America, the efficacy study raised the attention of governments in Peru, Argentina, Mexico, Ecuador, Chile, and let's see how fast budgets are dedicated to digitalized school systems already there. And additionally, in the world, we just started a cooperation in South Africa and still looking for a partner in the US. Thank you very much.